Hi guys, my name is Hannah and this is actually my second cash stuffing video. I will be stuffing one of my paychecks. I work just a small part-time job. And then I also wanted to review over my sinking funds and how I keep track of those and how much is in them. And talk about two apps that we are going to be incorporating in to see if they're helpful to us. They seem like they will be, but just what they are and how we plan to use them. So stay tuned and thank you so much for watching. Okay, so first up, we have got $414 that we'll be stuffing today. Okay, so I'll do the stuffing and then go over this, I'm thinking. So this budget binder is for things that we pull from often. I can hear my dog getting worked up and he's on the verge of a bark. It's so hard to edit a bark sometimes. I've said this a little bit. So my husband is about to come back from a deployment. So before we start doing like all these things, most of this will come out of his paycheck every month, oil change, gas, spending, eating out, you know, things for the house. But before we like start doing that, when he comes back and we figure out, you know, we have to refigure out, it's like going into cash stuffing is hard enough. I'm not a very good multitasker here. Going into cash stuffing is hard enough, like as far as, you know, if you miss a subscription, it throws you off and then you're like, oh my gosh, I put out this set amount of cash. It just is a little bit tricky to get used to. And obviously once you know it, it's easy. Not easy, but it's easier than if you don't know it. Beauty is getting 30. That's one that I'm hoping I can get. Like if I go ahead and stock up good, then like in the beginning of the year, like if something comes, obviously beauty's a little like do you really need something out of beauty? But this goes for all categories as far as like just starting out cash stuffing. Like then something comes up, you know, when you start and you didn't plan for it or you weren't ready, you weren't prepared, and then everything's thrown off as far as cash stuffing. It's just a little bit tricky and it does take time to learn. But that's hard enough. And then with my husband coming back, you know, we're going to be spending a different amount on groceries, gas, spending, eating out that we haven't been working with. So I am hoping that giving us a little bit of time to adjust, and then we'll just start really focusing on that when we figure out kind of like, okay, how much are we spending on groceries? How much are we, you know, I don't want to under budget, and I also don't want to severely over budget for those things. So kind of figure that out as we go. But until then, we can start like pre-saving up. That's what I'm calling my like pre-gaming, like saving up for sinking funds. Mother's Day is getting 50. So that way we are still, you know, ahead of the game. So Christmas is getting 50. I think that's all for holidays. For this next binder, I've got, so I ordered another one of these It's actually, these ones are just like silver, and I wish I kind of would have ordered black rings, but it just has so many envelopes. I also this is hilarious. So I straightened up, I like went through and like lined them up. Like I put one of these printed ones behind the ones that I had to like kind of fill in with. And I also added this guy, Future Baby. We don't, I'm in school right now, but we have been, you know, that's in the plans eventually, obviously. The other one that I fixed was car maintenance because I spelled it wrong. So it's okay. It's okay. But I ordered another binder to kind of separate these out. There's just so much. Like this is just without even any, I mean, there's some cash in there, but without barely any cash in there, it's already like it's gonna get filled so quickly. So, okay. So in this one, I'll probably separate those out in the next one. School is getting 100. Prescriptions is getting 20. So I guess I can tell you about my new phone is getting 40. The two apps that we're kind of playing around with to see are Fetch, which I feel like a lot of people on here talk about. It's a rewards app for scanning in receipts is what it's geared towards. There's other ways you can, my husband's big into like, he loves a rewards app. But he really loves, like, if there's other options, like he can always, bug spray is getting 30. He can always, like, if he can get games and like work towards something on there, and then like, even if it's like not that much points, he just loves it. So they also have things like that. So they actually build up. I've used like apps in the past. Savings, which I actually did already fill out this little card. This is where we're at with it. I've got 2 100s in there, and then I'm gonna add a 50. You do build up points pretty fast on Fetch. I do have to say that. It of course depends on like what you get, but we've been on like a health journey, so we already kind of, not all the time, but often buy the bougier, you know, not like higher, I guess higher quality, like just better ingredients, which is usually more expensive and usually name brand. Tax prep is getting, it's getting the rest less 44. So that's something that we are trying out. I think it will be good. And then like once you get 55,000 points, you can get like an Amazon gift card. And right now I've had it for only, I think I've scanned in 2 receipts, one from Target and one from Kroger, and I have like 6,000 points. So it is pretty fast for an app like that. You also get a lot of points on Fetch for referring people, and for like when you start, if someone's referred you and use their code, you also get starting points. So I would suggest that, even if it's, I'll put my code in the description box, but use someone's code because you do get points that you wouldn't get otherwise. So the other app that we're doing is Ally, and it's actually a banking app. So currently we have My Checking, which we don't use. We use my husband's checking. I say that like we share, but that's like when we married, I had one, he had one. So we both have access to each other's. It's just, that's where we started. And then we have a mutual like savings account, but it builds like 10 cents, a month. And we have an emergency fund already saved up in there. So I opened an Ally savings account. So they have I think it's like a 3.9% interest rate. So the other thing about them is it pairs really well with the cash stuffing system. So when you always see people use like the fully funded card or like placeholders, and then they say that they take that money to the bank, this has where you can have one savings account, and then you can have something that they call buckets, where I can have one savings account, and then I can say like, out of this savings account, 10,000 of this is for my emergency fund, 1,300 of this is for car maintenance. I think you can have up to 30 like buckets. So like for something like this, once it all gets going, I have it started up, but you have to transfer, like it transfers, a couple cents from your account, and you have to verify that. So I'm waiting for that to go through, and then I'll go ahead and transfer our emergency fund over in there. That way you can start building up more money than it's just sitting in the bank right now doing nothing. So I am going to do that is my plan here in the next couple of days, is to move my emergency fund over. And then I obviously don't have like too many like high stuffed things right now, envelopes, but I will go ahead and put our car maintenance in there. Obviously that's not money that like we're wanting to spend hopefully for a long time. So I'll go ahead and put it in there, and then it will have its own spot, and I'll be able to see like, okay, this is what I have in the bank for car maintenance. I don't have, the only like placeholder cards I have are fully funded right now. Obviously I would like to get more eventually, but that's just what we're working with. So I am hoping to do, I think I'm just gonna put a little sticky note on the back, and if it's fully funded and it's not something that I'll be using soon, I will do, I'll just put a little sticky note that says, this one has 1,300 in it. So that's the plan, Stan. But I'll let you know like how it goes, and how, if I feel like it's super helpful, how much interest it's building. I feel like I'm a numbers person. I need to know like if this is how much I earned this month in interest from it sitting in this bank account versus this bank account. So it's a learning game. We'll see how it goes. Okay. So this is how I decided to do my sinking funds for now. So I'll show you, this is like for the ones, since we're getting ahead of the game and we're stuffing large amounts of money into envelopes instead of like, okay, we're doing 5 across the board, it's just different as far as like the fully funded, and you obviously only like have 150 2 times we've stuffed, and we already have fully funded. So that's why it is like this time. Let me think. So I'll show you, well, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory, I think. So when I had originally set this up, I went through and I created, this is the start date, this is the goal date, this is how much I want to have in there. So I'm going to have to do this for each paycheck. So obviously things like that need to be done by the beginning of the year. All of these start in January is what I was going off the start date from, because that's when we're like, I don't want to say like fully committing to cash stuffing, but that's when we are like doing all cash stuffing. So that's why like it has a very, very large amount in there. So I was hoping by reducing these things that we would be paying a bunch out of at the beginning of the year, designated to this envelope. Let's go ahead and get this done. And then in January, that's $75 that would have gone towards this that were done. So I have one for all of them. And I have went ahead and filled them out with where I put the money. And then after the holidays, I do need to add anniversaries in here, I just realized. I have one for all of my sinking funds. I did just put them all like under sinking funds, not like low and high priority, but when I do separate that out, I'll still try to go in the order just so it's a little bit easier, like as I'm writing them, even if it's like this one's in high priority, this one's in high priority, this one's in low priority, I'll still try to like keep them, like currently I have them in the same order here. So I have gym first in here, and then I have dental second in here. So that is just how I kind of have this laid out. I don't know if it'll be something that works best for me long term, but right now that's what makes sense to me in my brain. So that's how I'm going to be doing it. Obviously, I'll have to be updating like these at the beginning of the year, and maybe I'll go through that at some point and figure it out for a video, setting new goals. Yeah, so I don't know exactly like how much income we're gonna have to work with. It's different. Like my husband worked at the job he's going back to, but like the year before he left, he had a bunch of things like with the military that he would have to take extra time off work before the deployment. And like even looking back, like I went back and made a list of all of his incomes for the last 12 months before he left, and like they're just so scattered. So like making these plans, and then like if I wasn't able to meet it, that would just be a little bit tricky. So I'll have to figure out how I want to do the goal. Maybe I'll just put a goal amount and how much I hope to put for each paycheck or something like that. I did want to show you like, so for like what we've done so far, this was January 1st. If I had all of the sinking funds laid out, this is the goal, this is when I want to have them by. This was things we had to start paying on, putting in the envelopes. Obviously, it might not have worked exactly, depending on how much money we actually had to work with, but all of them added up to $572 in sinking funds. This was not, obviously not gas, not groceries. So, with what we have crossed off, which is what we already have fully funded, I do have gym crossed off. I still want to stuff my husband's annual gym membership in there, but at least mine is done, and that gets paid in March. So for now, that's done. But things that I wouldn't need to be stuffing in anymore, I went ahead and did like the bigger things, you know, Valentine's Day, 75, gym, 54, car maintenance, 20. So we will, instead of 572, the circled ones are things that I have put money towards, so that number will be reduced, but it's things I still plan to stuff, so I'm not going to like completely change them, or they're not fully funded yet. So it would go from 572 to 362, and actually it'll be lower than that. And then that extra money, if we have other money that we can put towards something, obviously it can go into sinking funds or into one of these to kind of like up it, so it would be lower payments, or we would reach the goal faster. But at least at that point, this is much more manageable number. 572. Obviously that's like $200 less that we've saved by what I call pre-gaming. So that's just what makes sense in my brain. If you're like, it's not, I was thinking there's probably people that are gonna be like, that is not pre-gaming, you're just cash stuffing. But that's what I'm thinking, like that's how I'm breaking it down in my head. That's what works for me. So so that is about this. And then I do want to like at some point like show you what the Ally app looks like and how I've got it. Just I'm not quite sure how to do that yet. But until then, that's what we've got here. Okay, well, I think that was everything that I wanted to accomplish. Hopefully this was helpful. Like I said, this is like, I'm just figuring things out, what works for me, figuring out, you know, that I should have separated those, and how I like to keep things organized. I hope that it was helpful. I really appreciate you watching. And I'm super excited to be here, and I really enjoy making videos. So I hope that you got something out of this, and thank you for growing with me. I so appreciate you. Thank you for watching.